I thought this celebration dinner would finally be about me. After 8 years of working 70 to 80 hours a week in marketing, I had just landed the promotion to senior marketing director at my Fortune 500 company. The corner office, the $95,000 salary increase managing 12 people. But as I sat in the private dining room at Capitol Grill watching my family gather around the table I had reserved for $800, I knew something was wrong. My sister Sophia arrived 30 minutes late, her makeup smeared, claiming her chronic fibromyalgia was flaring up again. The same condition that seemed to strike every time I had good news to share. Before I share what happened next, let me know in the comments where you are watching from. Hit that like button if you believe family should support each other, and subscribe, because this story will show you exactly why I started recording everything around my sister. Trust me, you will want to see how this unfolds. My promotion had been the breakthrough moment I had worked toward for nearly a decade. The digital marketing campaign I had spearheaded increased sales by 340% in the third quarter, impressing both the CEO and the entire board of directors. This was not just any promotion. It came with a team of 12 people under my management, a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown, and the kind of salary increase that would change my life. I had spent weeks planning this celebration dinner, booking the private dining room at Capitol Grill downtown, the same restaurant where our family had celebrated my father's 50th birthday 3 years earlier. I invited my parents, my older brother Jake, and Sophia. $800 for the perfect evening, because I wanted everything to be special. For once, I thought to myself as I made the reservation, maybe this time it could be about me. But Sophia had a pattern that I was only beginning to fully understand. For the past 2 years, she had been claiming to suffer from chronic fibromyalgia, a condition that caused her widespread pain and fatigue. The problem was not that I did not believe chronic pain was real. The problem was the timing. Sophia's pain seemed to spike dramatically during my most important moments. My college graduation day, she fainted during the ceremony. I had to leave early to take her to the hospital, missing my own celebration and the dinner my parents had planned. The test results showed nothing serious, but my graduation day was over. When I had my first major job interview 2 years later, Sophia called me at 5 in the morning claiming she was having a severe attack and needed me to drive her to the emergency room. I spent the entire day stressed and distracted, and I failed the interview. There were smaller incidents too. Birthday dinners where Sophia would suddenly become too sick to stay. Family gatherings where her pain would flare up right when I started sharing good news. My 30th birthday party last year, she was too sick to attend, but Jake later showed me her Instagram posts from a spa day she had taken that same afternoon. So when Sophia arrived at the restaurant 30 minutes late, I felt that familiar sinking feeling in my chest. She walked slowly to our table, one hand pressed against her lower back, her face twisted in what appeared to be pain. "I am sorry I am late," she said as she carefully lowered herself into the chair across from me. "The pain is so bad today, probably an 8 out of 10. I almost did not come." Immediately, the attention of our entire family shifted to her. My mother reached across the table to touch Sophia's hand. "Oh, honey, did you take your medication today?" My father set down his menu. "Should we order quickly so you can get home and rest?" Jake, who had just finished telling our parents about the expensive champagne he had ordered to celebrate my promotion, turned his focus to Sophia. "Do you need anything? Water? Maybe some bread to settle your stomach?" I watched this familiar dance play out, feeling my excitement about the promotion deflating like a punctured balloon. I had been so eager to share my news, to finally have my moment in the spotlight, but once again, Sophia was the center of attention. "I am happy for Charlotte," Sophia said, glancing at me with what looked like genuine affection. "I just wish I could feel happiness without this constant pain overshadowing everything." The comment stung because it sounded so reasonable, so heartfelt. How could I be angry at someone who was suffering? But as the evening progressed, I began to notice things that made me uncomfortable. When the conversation was focused on me and my promotion, Sophia's pain seemed to intensify. She would shift in her chair, press her hands to her temples, or make small sounds of discomfort. But when the attention turned to her when our parents were fussing over her and asking about her symptoms, she seemed more relaxed, more animated. Jake leaned over and whispered in my ear while our parents were discussing Sophia's medication schedule. "Something feels off tonight," he said quietly. "I cannot put my finger on it, but this does not feel right." I tried multiple times during dinner to steer the conversation back to my promotion. Each time I would start to speak about my new responsibilities or the projects I would be leading, Sophia would interrupt with a pain episode. "So I got the senior director position, and the company is really excited about—" I began raising my champagne glass. "Oh God," Sophia interrupted, pressing both hands to her left leg. "The pain is shooting down my leg like lightning. I think I need to change positions." Once again, our parents immediately shifted their attention to her, asking if she needed to lie down or if they should call her doctor. My announcement hung unfinished in the air, and I slowly lowered my champagne glass. The turning point came when I excused myself to use the bathroom. I had been growing increasingly suspicious throughout the evening, so I made a decision that would change everything. I set my phone to record and carefully placed it under my napkin at the table, angled so it would capture Sophia's seat. As I walked toward the bathroom, I could hear the conversation continuing behind me. But when I reached the hallway and turned back, I could see our table from a different angle. What I saw made my blood run cold. Sophia was sitting up straight, no longer hunched over in pain. She was talking normally with our server, her voice clear and strong, completely different from the strained, weak tone she had been using all evening. She was even laughing about something, her whole body language relaxed and natural. When the server walked away, I watched her check her makeup in the reflection of her knife, smoothing her hair and adjusting her posture. I returned to the table, and the moment Sophia saw me approaching, she immediately slumped back into her previous position, her face contorting into that familiar expression of pain. "How are you feeling?" I asked, settling back into my chair. "Still pretty bad," she replied in that weak voice. "I might need to leave soon if this does not improve." But I had started recording 20 minutes earlier, and I had captured something much more damning than just her normal behavior while I was gone. My phone had recorded Sophia during the entire time I had been suspicious, and what I saw when I reviewed the footage later would become the evidence I needed. The video clearly showed Sophia stretching comfortably in her chair, reaching across the table for bread and eating her appetizers with obvious enjoyment. She looked completely normal, even checking her appearance multiple times in the reflective surfaces around the table. But the most damaging evidence was audio I had not expected to capture. During the recording, Sophia had received a phone call. I could hear her side of the conversation clearly. "Just wait until she makes her big announcement," she had said quietly into the phone. "That is when I will need you to call me with the emergency." I sat through the rest of dinner with this knowledge burning in my chest, watching Sophia continue her performance. Every time I cleared my throat to make my announcement, she would immediately shift into severe pain mode, claiming her symptoms were worsening and that she might need medical attention. As I watched her, I began to think about all the times this had happened before. My high school valedictorian speech when Sophia had an emergency appendicitis scare that turned out to be gas. My college acceptance celebration when she had a severe fibromyalgia flare that required the entire family to leave early and take her home. My first major promotion party 3 years ago when Sophia had to leave due to pain, and naturally our whole family left with her. The pattern was becoming undeniable. For 6 years, Sophia had been systematically sabotaging my most important moments. Not through direct confrontation or obvious jealousy, but through medical crises that positioned her as the victim, and me as the selfish sister who wanted attention while she was suffering. I looked around the table at my family. My parents were completely focused on Sophia, discussing whether they should take her to urgent care. Jake was Googling fibromyalgia symptoms on his phone, trying to be helpful. And I was sitting there with evidence of the truth, feeling like I was drowning in the realization that my own sister had been stealing my joy for years. The decision I was about to make would either save my relationship with my sister or destroy it forever. but I knew I could not let this happen again. Tonight had to be different. My heart was pounding as I prepared to either expose the truth or make the biggest mistake of my life. I touched my phone in my lap, feeling the weight of the evidence I had gathered. 20 minutes of clear video showing exactly who Sophia really was when she thought no one was watching. The question was whether I had the courage to use it. I stood up, champagne glass in hand, and cleared my throat loudly enough to get everyone's attention. I have something very important to share with all of you, I announced, my voice carrying across our private dining room. The table fell quiet. My parents looked up expectantly. Jake set down his phone, and I could see Sophia already beginning to shift uncomfortably in her seat, preparing for whatever episode she had planned. After 8 years with the company, I have been promoted to senior marketing director. I began, my voice strong and clear. The board was impressed with our third quarter results, and I will now be managing a team of 12 people with a significant salary increase. At the exact moment I finished speaking, Sophia collapsed. She fell sideways off her chair with a dramatic cry of pain, hitting the floor hard enough that her water glass toppled over and crashed to the ground. The pain is unbearable, she gasped, curling into a fetal position on the restaurant floor. I think I need an ambulance. This is the worst attack I have ever had. The room erupted in chaos. Servers rushed over from nearby tables. My parents dropped to their knees beside Sophia, and Jake jumped up so quickly he knocked over his own chair. Other diners in the restaurant turned to stare at our table, whispers spreading throughout the dining room. "Call 911, my mother shouted to a server. "My daughter needs medical attention." "Should I get the manager?" another server asked, hovering uncertainly. My father was kneeling on the floor trying to help Sophia sit up. "Honey, can you tell me where the pain is worst? Is it your back? Your legs?" In the middle of all this chaos, I remained standing, watching the scene unfold with a strange sense of calm. Because this time I was prepared. "Before we call 911, I said loudly enough for everyone to hear, I think everyone should see something. I pulled out my phone and held it up so the screen was visible to my family. I recorded this video 20 minutes ago, I announced. I want all of you to watch what Sophia was doing right before she made this announcement. The video began playing, and you could hear a pin drop in that restaurant. The footage clearly showed Sophia sitting upright, completely comfortable, stretching her arms above her head and rotating her shoulders with no sign of pain or discomfort. She was eating her appetizers, normally laughing with the server, and even checking her makeup in the knife reflection. But the most damaging part was the audio. Her phone conversation was crystal clear. "Just wait until she makes her big announcement. That is when I will need you to call me with the emergency." My parents stared at the phone screen in stunned silence. Jake's mouth fell open. Even the servers who had gathered around our table were watching with obvious shock. "Sophia," my father said slowly, his voice barely above a whisper. "What is this?" From her position on the floor, Sophia realized she had been caught. She tried to maintain the act for a few more seconds, claiming that the pain was real and that she could not control when it happened. But everyone had seen the video. Everyone had heard her planning this moment. "The pain is real," she insisted, but her voice was already losing the weak, strained quality it had carried all evening. "I cannot help when the attacks happen." I looked down at my sister still lying on the restaurant floor and felt a strange mixture of sadness and relief. "Sophia," I said calmly, "this is the 4th major milestone you have ruined in 6 years. My graduation, my job interviews, my birthday parties. I have been recording everything for the past month because I knew this would happen tonight." I pulled up my text messages and showed the family additional evidence. Screenshots of conversations between Sophia and her friend, discussing how to create diversions during family events. Photos she had posted on social media, during times when she claimed to be too sick to attend my celebrations. The evidence was overwhelming, and Sophia knew it. Her entire demeanor changed as she realized the jig was up. The pain expression melted away from her face, replaced by defensive anger. "You always got everything," she snapped, sitting up normally for the first time all evening. "The attention, the praise, the success. Do you have any idea what it is like being your sister? Every achievement you have makes me feel like a complete failure. So you decided to fake medical emergencies? I asked, my voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through my body. Maybe I exaggerated sometimes. She admitted, getting to her feet without any assistance. But you do not understand the pressure of living in your shadow. Everyone always talks about how successful Charlotte is, how proud they are of Charlotte. My parents were horrified. How could you do this to your sister? My mother asked, her voice breaking. How could you lie to us about being sick? Jake shook his head in disgust. This explains so much about family gatherings over the past few years. I knew something felt wrong, but I never imagined this. The entire restaurant was watching our family drama unfold, servers standing at a respectful distance, but clearly listening to every word. I felt exposed and embarrassed, but also vindicated. Finally, everyone could see what I had been experiencing alone. Sophia, I said, looking directly at my sister. I am not angry anymore. I am just done. What do you mean, done? She asked, and for the first time I heard genuine fear in her voice. My promotion comes with a relocation opportunity to Seattle, I announced to my entire family. I have been considering it for weeks, and now I have made my decision. I am taking it. Please do not leave, Sophia begged, suddenly desperate. I will get help. I will go to therapy. I can change. I hope you do change, I replied. But I will not be here to watch you try. I need to build a life where my successes are not constantly overshadowed by your crises, real or manufactured. The conversation that followed was painful, but necessary. My parents were struggling to understand how they had missed the signs, how they had enabled Sophia's behavior for so long. Jake apologized for not speaking up sooner, admitting that he had noticed the pattern, but had not wanted to cause family conflict. But I felt lighter than I had in years. For the first time in 6 years, I had successfully exposed the truth and taken control of my own narrative. My promotion was real, my achievements were valid, and I was finally free to celebrate them without fear. I left the restaurant first that night, driving home alone through the quiet city streets. The mixture of vindication and sadness I felt was unlike anything I had ever experienced. I was proud of myself for finally standing up and exposing the truth, but I was also grieving the loss of the family dynamic I had always hoped we could have. Jake texted me before I even made it home. I am proud of you for standing up for yourself tonight. That took incredible courage. My parents needed time to process what they had learned. The next few days were difficult, filled with long phone conversations and painful realizations about how they had unknowingly enabled Sophia's behavior. They admitted they had always given her the benefit of the doubt because they wanted to be supportive, but they had failed to protect me in the process. I accepted the Seattle position and began preparing for the move. For the first time in years, I was making a major life change without fear of sabotage. The transition was initially painful because I did not have my family's support during such a big change, but it was also incredibly liberating. My new coworkers in Seattle knew nothing about my family drama. They celebrated my promotion properly, welcomed me warmly, and treated my achievements as worthy of recognition. For the first time in years, I felt truly seen and appreciated for my professional accomplishments. Sophia faced consequences for her actions. My parents insisted she begin therapy immediately, and the family dynamics shifted significantly. No more enabling her dramatic episodes, no more automatic sympathy without questions. It was a difficult adjustment for everyone, but it was necessary. After several months of therapy, Sophia was diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. The diagnosis helped explain her behavior patterns and gave her a framework for understanding why she had felt compelled to steal attention from others. She began genuine treatment and slowly started acknowledging the damage she had caused to our family relationships. Jake visited me in Seattle 6 months after I moved, and he apologized again for not speaking up sooner. I should have said something years ago, he told me as we walked through Pike Place Market. I knew what was happening, but I was afraid of causing conflict. I realize now that my silence hurt you just as much as her actions did. My parents gradually came to understand my decision to leave. My mother called me 8 months after the restaurant incident. "We are sorry we did not see what was happening," she said through tears. "We enabled her behavior and failed to protect you. We understand now why you had to leave." My father was even more direct when he called the following week. "I failed you as a parent," he said simply. "I should have seen the pattern. I should have protected both of my daughters, and instead, I let one hurt the other for years." Their acknowledgement meant everything to me. It validated my experience and helped me begin to heal from years of feeling invisible and unimportant during my own celebrations. My career flourished in Seattle without the constant stress of family drama. I threw myself into my new role, building strong relationships with my team and developing innovative marketing strategies that impressed senior leadership. For the first time in my professional life, I could celebrate my wins without fear of them being overshadowed by family emergencies. I also developed deeper friendships with my colleagues, relationships based on mutual support and genuine interest in each other's successes. I discovered what it felt like to share good news with people who were truly happy for me without hidden agendas or competitive jealousy. After 6 months of intensive therapy, Sophia wrote me a letter. It was not asking for forgiveness or demanding reconciliation. Instead, it was a genuine acknowledgement of the harm she had caused. "I stole your graduation, your promotions, and your joy," she wrote. "I robbed you of moments you had worked hard for and deserved to celebrate fully. I understand now that my jealousy and need for attention caused real damage to your life and to our family. I do not expect you to forgive me, but I want you to know that I am working every day to become someone who builds others up instead of tearing them down." She had also started volunteer work with chronic pain support groups, which I found ironically appropriate. She was using her understanding of pain and suffering to help people who were genuinely struggling, channeling her dramatic tendencies into something productive and meaningful. I returned home for Christmas after a year in Seattle, nervous about how the family dynamic would feel. It was the first family gathering in years that did not revolve around a Sophia crisis. She maintained appropriate boundaries, did not compete for attention, and genuinely seemed to be working on herself. The healing was not complete, and trust was not rebuilt overnight, but respect had begun immediately. Sophia acknowledged my promotion and asked thoughtful questions about my work in Seattle. She listened when I talked about my accomplishments without trying to redirect attention to herself. I learned profound lessons from this experience that extended far beyond family relationships. Love does not mean accepting toxic behavior from people who claim to care about you. Setting boundaries is not cruel. It is necessary for everyone's growth and well-being. Sometimes you have to lose your family to save your family. I also learned that your accomplishments do not need anyone else's permission to be celebrated. Recording the truth is not paranoid when the lies are consistent and damaging. Standing up for yourself teaches others how to treat you and sets the standard for how you will allow yourself to be treated in the future. Perhaps most importantly, I learned about forgiveness and healing. Forgiveness does not require reconciliation or putting yourself back in harmful situations. You can love someone and still protect yourself from their destructive behavior. Healing happens on your timeline, not theirs, and you do not owe anyone access to your life while you recover from their actions. I am now a successful vice president in Seattle, leading a team of 30 people and building healthy relationships based on mutual respect and support. Sophia is doing better too, building genuine friendships and learning to find fulfillment without competing with others or stealing their moments. Our family gatherings are still careful, but they are authentic in a way they never were before. We all understand now that love requires honesty, and support means celebrating each other's successes rather than competing for attention during important moments. I often think about that dinner and the video that changed everything. Sometimes the truth hurts, but living a lie hurts more. The question is not whether you should expose toxic behavior when you see it clearly. The question is whether you are brave enough to stop enabling it, even when doing so might cost you relationships you have always treasured. Have you ever had to choose between keeping peace and protecting yourself? What would you have done in my situation? Let me know in the comments below, and if this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe for more stories about finding strength in difficult family situations. Share this with someone who might need to hear that their feelings are valid and that standing up for themselves is not selfish. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it helps you recognize that you deserve to have your achievements celebrated without fear or competition. Take care of yourselves and remember that your worth is not diminished by someone else's need for attention.